According to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, there are approximately 90,000 missing persons in the United States at any given time. With the advancement of modern detective work and advanced scientific methods, such as genealogy testing, the vast majority of missing person cases end up being solved today. Even so, sometimes investigators just aren't able to provide enough conclusive evidence to put the pieces together on some of these cases, and they go unsolved. There have been some devastating, very suspicious missing persons cases in recent times that definitely fall into this category. Throughout history, though, all around the world, certain missing person cases have left investigators and families struggling to find answers. When there is little evidence to no evidence and no eyewitnesses, missing persons cases tragically end up being closed and unsolved. Come with us as we walk through some of the most puzzling and tragic missing persons cases throughout history all around the globe. Today we're going to go through 3 Canadian cold case files and hopefully shed some light on these missing individuals. The offer was too good to be true. On Tuesday, August 1st, 1989, Ronnie Jack left the First Leader pub in Prince George, British Columbia, feeling hopeful. At 26 years old, Ronnie had been out of work due to a back injury, and the Jack family had been living on welfare. Someone at the bar that night offered to help. The man told Ronnie about a job opportunity for him and his wife, Doreen, at a logging camp or ranch in the Kluklutz Lake area about 40 kilometers west of Prince George, past Bednesty. Ronnie was offered a job bucking logs, and Doreen was offered a position as a cook's helper in the camp kitchen. The man told Ronnie the camp even had a daycare for the couple's 2 sons, Russell, who was 9 years old, and Ryan, who was 4. The Jacks didn't have a car, so the man offered to drive them to the job site that night. At 11:16 p.m., Ronnie called his brother and told him about the camp job. 2 hours later, he called his parents in Burns Lake, BC. Ronnie said the family would be at the site for 10 to 14 days and would be home by the time school began. The man waited for Ronnie, Doreen, Russell, and Ryan to pack up their belongings, and at 1:21 a.m. on August 2nd, 1989, all 4 members of the Jack family were seen leaving their home at 2116 Strathcona Avenue and piling into the man's 4-wheel drive dark-colored pickup truck. They were never seen again. The family was officially reported missing on August 25th, 1989. Their disappearance is the first and only of its kind in Canadian history. Nearly 7 years later, the most significant tip about the Jack family's disappearance came early on a Sunday morning in January. On January 28, 1996, at 8:33 a.m., a man in Stony Creek, BC, called Vanderhoof police with a brief message. The message goes as, "The Jack family are buried in the south end of Ranch." It was over in 10 seconds. The caller had hung up before the dispatch could ask any questions. Investigators published several appeals in local newspapers asking the person to call again, and planned to release the recording of the caller's voice if they didn't. In March of 1996, the voice recording was analyzed by the University of British Columbia. Although police were eventually able to trace the call to a house in Vanderhoof, where a house party had taken place during the time frame of the call, it's unclear if the caller was ever identified. It was the first tip of its kind in the family's disappearance. Since the investigation began, the RCMP have conducted hundreds of interviews, obtained thousands of documents related to the case, and have searched several properties in search of Ronald, Doreen, Russell, and Ryan. The most recent search for the Jack family took place in 2019 at a property south of Vanderhoof. Ground-penetrating radar and heavy equipment were used, but unfortunately, no trace of the Jack family was ever found. The description of the man who offered the job to Ronnie at the First Leader pub was compiled from statements by two witnesses, one in 1989 and the other in 1990. The man is the prime suspect in the family's disappearance. He was described as Caucasian, 6'6" tall, with reddish-brown hair, a short, full beard and mustache. His hair went to the bottom of his ears and was parted on one side. In 1989, he was 35 to 40 years old and approximately 200 to 275 pounds. He was wearing a baseball cap, a red checkered work shirt, faded blue jeans, a waist-length blue nylon jacket, and work boots with leather fringes over the toes. Over 30 years have passed. The Jack family's fate and the identity of the man from the First Leader pub remains unknown. The disappearance of a loved one is devastating. The inexplicable loss of a family of 4 is a tragedy beyond comprehension. The Jack family deserves justice, and they deserve to come home. The abduction of Adam, Trevor, and Mitchell O'Brien, missing since November 9, 1996, from Torbay, Newfoundland and Labrador. Ages at the time were 14, 11, and 4. At 14 years old, Adam O'Brien was the oldest. Trevor was 11 and Mitchell was just a few weeks shy of his 5th birthday. On the day their father kidnapped them, Mitchell was feeling sick, and their mother, Diana, had tried to keep him home, but Gary O'Brien was adamant that all 3 boys come to his home in Torbay, Newfoundland for their scheduled visit on November 9, 1996. At 8:30 p.m., Diana got the call. It was the day after her 39th birthday. Gary said the boys were not coming home, and that his home was rigged to explode if anyone tried to enter. He told her she would know what life would be like without her boys on her next birthday, then said later and hung up the phone. Diana's sister was with her and immediately called the police. When they arrived at Gary's home, it was wired with 2 400-pound tanks of propane. The house and the surrounding area would have been destroyed had anyone tried to enter. Adam, Trevor, and Mitchell's whereabouts remain unknown 24 years later. The abduction of the O'Brien brothers made international headlines. Thousands of tips have come in from across Canada and the United States. Gary O'Brien, who had a history of violence and psychiatric issues, is wanted by Interpol. He is described as being 5'10", 132 pounds, with blue eyes and gray hair. He has a false tooth and was known to frequent swimming pools and arcades. There's a $50,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. In 1997, 1 year after the boys were kidnapped, the engine from Gary's 1989 Ford Tempo was found 10 kilometers off the coast of Flat Rock Cliff in Newfoundland. Diana thinks it was part of Gary's plan to mislead investigators and always believed her boys are alive. In 1998, a woman from Thunder Bay, Ontario, called investigators and said she had babysat for Gary. She knew intimate family details, including the boys' unpublished nicknames. The tip is considered credible, and it's believed that Thunder Bay is the boys' last known whereabouts. The woman never contacted investigators again, and all attempts to locate her and confirm her tip were unsuccessful, and her identity remains unknown. Diana has never stopped searching for her boys. In 2011, she met with former Prime Minister Stephen Harper to raise awareness about her sons and other missing children. She believes Adam, Trevor, and Mitchell might be living in a cult-like community or have been brainwashed and are unable to make contact with her. Adam O'Brien is now 37, Trevor is 35, and Mitchell is 29. Gary O'Brien is 64. If the kids made it over 4,000 kilometers to Ontario, someone must have seen them. Someone can help bring them home. Stacy Lucienne Luc de Lenardi, missing since November 28, 2005, from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. He was 31 when he disappeared. Stacy de Lenardi had lived in Sudbury his entire life. In September of 2005, when he was 31 years old, he moved to Sault Ste. Marie to start a new job as a technician at the Ontario Forest Research Institute. He still kept in touch with his family in Sudbury. On November 27, 2005, Stacy spoke to his father on the phone. On the morning of November 28th, he went to work wearing beige pants and a beige khaki vest over a blue sleeve sweater. He left work at lunch and drove his 2003 red Chevrolet Cavalier to Sewell's Gas Bar, located on the Rankin Reserve. At 1:12 p.m., he purchased some Players Light cigarettes. What happens next remains a mystery. Investigators launched an extensive search for Stacy following his disappearance on December 1st, 2005. His abandoned vehicle was found disabled 7 kilometers in on Connor Road in Duncan Township, 13.5 kilometers from where he was last seen. Some reports describe the location as a snowmobile trail 15 kilometers behind Garden River First Nation Reserve. No other evidence was found, and the search was called off due to heavy snowfall. In April 2006, investigators conducted a second search over 20 days. According to Sudbury Police press release, up to 55 trained searchers from Sault Ste. Marie, Search and Rescue, OPP, and the city police scoured the brush for any signs of de Lenardi. Investigators used OPP helicopters, snow machines, and specialized OPP canine handlers with cadaver dogs. The area where the vehicle was initially located was searched again. At the time, Constable Bill McCannon of the OPP said that they were looking for any evidence that he is still there and he is dead or that he just walked out. In May, the search was called off. No evidence of Stacy de Lenardi's whereabouts was ever found. At the time of his disappearance, he had only lived in Sault Ste. Marie for less than 3 months. He wore glasses, was known to smoke menthol cigarettes, and is described as thin, 5'8" inches tall, 155 to 160 pounds, with brown eyes and brown hair to his ears, and he was balding on top. He has psoriasis on his legs, arms, and back, and takes medication for thyroid and depression. He had recently legally changed his name to Luke. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Sault Ste. Marie Police Services at 705-949-6300 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. If you have any information on any of these cases, or any of the cases I've done before, please contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-8477. Or you can go online at www.canadiancrimestoppers.org/tips. Also, if you would please not mind the way my voice sounded in this video. I'm still pretty sick, so if it sounds crackly or if I sound disinterested, really I'm not. This is how my voice is right now. Hopefully in about 3 to 5 months I will be better and my voice will go back to normal. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.